Hello and welcome back to another Bad Movie Reviews review hosted by your favourite weapon from down under, your favourite film reviewer, Ben. And it is a film that I am touching on today that I've been looking forward to for a very long time, dating back to the information in regards to the script. Obviously, it was a film that Jordan Peele was interested in directing, which is and then fired his management. So you generally hear that and it's obviously going to be an interesting story, but it is written and directed by none other than Zach Cregger as well. So once he was obviously announced from doing it, it was a film I was excited for, due to obviously it being a follow up from Barbarian, which came out in 2022, which I really really loved. And obviously with the cast attached to this as well, you've got Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, Alden Ehrenreich. It's a ridiculously good cast, and not only that, the very very viral marketing campaign they've went on, which has done wonders in my opinion, and I'll get into a little bit of that later as to why I think so. But if you're not familiar with the plot or the trailer or anything, I seriously recommend going in knowing as little as possible. But the basic and the very very basic baseline of the film is essentially everyone but one kid goes missing from a classroom on the same night at the same time, and essentially it's a massive mystery within that small tight knit community. But I am just ecstatic to say that Zach Cregger is 2 from 2. I think this is a step up and a big step. Even though I love Barbarian, I think this is a big step up in terms of filmmaking and writing. It's and I don't want to gas it up, but I know there's obviously reviews coming out because I love, for you to go see it and make up your own thought process on it and talk about it, because it is one of those films. But this might be one of the best horror films I've seen in a long time. Now, I use the term horror lightly. I do think it is probably more of a thriller slash drama. However, there are very, very heavy horror elements into it. The story itself, there's extremely creepy imagery through there. There are obviously your jump scares and so on. So it is very unsettling the whole time. It's an intriguing film as well. The actual story itself, it is a creepy, creepy story. So I think that obviously definitely plays into it. But to touch on the cast first, all I think everyone in this film is really really great, really really great. I think that really elevated the film. You really connect with all the characters and what they're going through. Obviously, this kind of situation is something you'd never really want anyone to go through, and I felt like the characters and the actors actually really really elevated that material and made it great. I think everyone was perfectly cast in the film, and just overall, that's probably the main thing to touch on in that regard. But I think the best thing about this film is just the way it's actually told. I actually think my favorite aspect of the film is not necessarily the story or the cast, it's actually the way the plot and the movie moves and unfolds. It's almost told in a chapter like situation. Well, it is told in a chapter like situation, but each chapter, for instance, is a character. And that's all I'll say in that regard. I don't want to spoil anything or say anything further, because I do recommend going in knowing as little as possible. But I actually thought the way that's told and the reason why is it just is crafted so meticulously and perfectly. Every section and chapter almost cuts and ends at this perfect time to really, really make you want to know more and have you on that edge of the seat. It is somewhat of a slow burn, the film itself, but I feel like that perfectly just sets it up. It really, really builds tension over that runtime, and it's an extremely gripping film. And that's kind of why I said it's probably more of a drama and thriller, because the plot itself is actually really, really great and an interesting film, and obviously horror elements, you know, obviously laid out in the film, and I had an absolute ball with it. It's not only that, it's very also very funny, which I wasn't expecting. It is genuinely, I had a laugh, And there's certain films out there already where you get these horror films where, something would happen and there's these very human responses that, you don't normally expect, and it kind of takes you off guard and you have that laugh. But there are a lot of moments like that in this film, and then even then there were little comedic elements, and it was really funny and similar to Barbarian. If you have seen that, there were your funny moments in there, and I think Zach Cregger really kind of steps up to the plate here and really has made a bigger, a bolder, a better film. I think the way I sing its praises. It's one of my favorite films of the year. As I said, one of my favorite, definitely horror type films for quite some time. And not only that, I think it's perfectly marketed. I think they really knew that you should probably know as little as possible going in. Now, I will say that I'm a big fan of how the film unfolds and actually ends. The screening, the film and the screening I went to, it was something that people are talking about, and I know I've seen some people even online and friends that have talked about the ending, and it hasn't sat well with them, or not necessarily sat well, but they weren't the biggest fan of it compared to potentially the first 2 acts, or if you're looking at it, a 3-act film, the beginning and the middle and the end. So, but I actually really loved the end, and I thought the journey there itself is just incredibly compelling and draws you in, and it's just, in my opinion, a fantastic movie that I can't recommend enough. And I think I can't wait to see what Zach Cregger does in the future. And I think I know I believe he's potentially attached to do a Resident Evil type movie in that world, so that's extremely exciting. But I'm just ecstatic because horror, in my opinion, is just in extremely good hands, and it's just a very, very exciting time to be in. I'm not always the biggest fan of horror because I do get scared, but overall, I can't recommend it enough. I love this movie, and I want to talk about it to people. If you have seen it, comment below, let me know what you think. Please don't comment any spoilers if you are coming below and you have seen it, but comment below, let me know what you think of the movie. If you do like the review, please give it a like, subscribe for more, and we'll see you next time.